Excited to say that the Woodbridge Economic Development Commission has a quorum, and we are starting our May meeting. So you've now been called to order. Our first item of business is our invited guest, Organizational Performance Group. Would you gentlemen care to take a seat at the table? And introduce yourself, please.
Sure. My name is Paul Prado. I'm Adam Friedman. And we want to thank you for inviting us to talk at the committee and tell you a little bit about Organizational Performance Group. And so we have a presentation up above, and if you can all crane your necks a little bit, I'll tell you a little bit about it. So first of all, Organizational Performance Group has been around for 5 years. We started in the attic of one of our founders in Hamden, and then eventually needed some space. And so we've eventually found space in Woodbridge at 15 Research Drive. We really like it there. The two partners are Laura Freeburn-Smith and Tony Panos, and Adam will talk about them in just a little bit. In regards to Adam and myself, my name is, again, Paul DePrado, and I'm the Director of Finance and Operations, also a Senior Associate in terms of consulting there. And my background is mostly 15 years of working in Fortune 500s, mostly in strategy and finance. And then the last 10 years or so working in consulting, mostly within the strategic marketing space. And I'll let Adam tell you a little bit about himself.
My background is in industrial organizational psychology and organizational development. Before working with OPG, I was a career guidance counselor. And moving back a little bit further, I was an infantry squad leader in the Marine Corps. So I appreciate being in this hall, and I actually see my sister battalion 2-4 over there. I was in 3-4, so it's pretty cool to see the patch out there.
We're very happy to have Adam. He's been with us 3 months now, and excited to have his background with us. So as we start, we like to start with a little, just a little question. I'm going to ask you what's happening here, and you can see as I pop up some pictures. Might be a little bit hard to see. All right, so I can ask you, what is happening here? Well, what is happening here is this is consulting in action and coaching in action with Organizational Performance Group. We do a lot of interactive type work. We ground our work in academia, but we always try to make it practical and a little bit fun at the same side as people learn about what we do. And so you may ask the next question, well, who are we and what do we do? We are a purpose-driven management consulting firm, and I'm emphasizing purpose-driven, and I'll show you in the next slide or so why we decided to be purpose-driven. It's very important to who we are and what we want to do. But in terms of our core offerings, we have 8, from strategic planning to coaching to analytics and diagnostics. We do a lot of diversity work with organizations in that space. We build retreats. We do a lot of group facilitations. And we have 2 open workshops one's called Abundance Leadership, the other's called Mastering Group Facilitation. One of the founders Laura, did her dissertation, getting her PhD in abundance leadership. And abundance leadership tries to work in the face of the scarcity model, where you only have so many resources, you can only do so much. This is really about teaching people how to be abundant, and the more that you do, the more you can actually get. In regards to what we consider our core strengths or our differentiation, it's 3 things. Intellectual property, our depth of experience between the partners and this management team. We probably have over 100 years or so worth of experience. In the content, we have a lot of intellectual property that we use with our clients. And we have found that using those 3, we've been able to bring in a lot of practical solutions that produce lasting results. Does it sound like a pitch so far? All right. So this is the slide that I wanted to tell you about in terms of our purpose-driven mission, if you will. This is a bit of an eyeful, so I'm going to try to take it a little bit slowly. And I figured I'd start with the top up here. In terms of, by making our world better, we make the world better. Our whole goal and our purpose is to make the world better. That's our mission. Now, granted, we're a for-profit company, and we make money doing what we do, but we try to look at it as a tool to actually accomplish this mission, which is making the world better. And we do this, we do this by helping create better strategies, better leaders, and better managers. And what we often do with our clients is we're providing them with the optimistic reassurance that the organizational issues that they are facing are normal and solvable. Often they have the same base, maybe a little bit different in terms of each organization, but we feel like we've seen a lot of experience, we can help them solve them. In regards to this centerpiece here, right, I can enlarge this a bit. And as we look here in terms of making the world better, how we see ourselves is we need to start with us, right, with our culture and who we are. And we look at ourselves as a bit of a laboratory and also as an ethical business where we try to promote the behaviors of proactivity, growth and learning, teamwork, collaboration, creativity, and above all, courage. Courage to say no. For example, when we work with businesses, we will not work with businesses that are not purpose-driven. If your sole mission is to just make money, we want to see something better than that. And those are the companies that we try to work in our niche. And we've said no to companies that actually have come to us and asked for our help, but really don't have a purpose or a mission. And that's really important to us, and we think it makes us stand out a bit. So that's a bit where we are internally. And then as we work with our clients, we provide them with what we believe is some really outstanding content, it's all based in academic rigor. We have great relationships with our clients and try to have clients for life. In the consulting world, that's always a hard thing. And we've had clients who have been with us 20, 25 years. And we think that's because of how we work with them, and what our beliefs are, and also the results. We provide results that have them keep coming back to us. So those are some of the things that we think create a great culture at the client sites that we work with. And finally, how does that morph into a better world? Well, what we hope anyways is that within our world, right, which is our business and the people that we help and our vendors, et cetera, that we're showing the deep respect and compassion and innovation and actually working hard to fulfill families and their communities in terms of being able to have that balance that they're looking for. One of the things we have at Organizational Performance Group is we have self-managed time off. You might ask, well, what does that mean? Well, you can ask Adam. It means you take off the time you need, just get your job done. And that's how we work at OPG. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Adam, who's going to talk a little bit more.
Talk about some of our clients and our main industries. It's generally in the healthcare sector, the energy sector, arts, museums, and higher education. Those are the areas that our founding partners really focused on. As we've grown, though, you can see we've worked with Disney, M&N, the Lemon Foundation in Brazil, ESPN. So we truly are agnostic in terms of who we want to serve, as long as you have that purpose and mission behind you. And who leads OPG? As we mentioned, it was founded in 2013 from the Tony Panos and Laura Freebaron-Smith's consulting firms. They joined them together. Tony has an MBA and is an executive coach. He's been doing it for over 30 years. He's really a specialist at putting a mirror up to our clients and helping them understand who they are and the impact they make on their employees. And Laura has her MBA and a PhD in organizational systems. She's truly a master of strategic planning, executive coaching, process mapping, and a great facilitator. And apart from that, they're great people. I've been out of the Marines for 5 or 6 years. I'm new to the whole workforce, and they are truly a blessing to work for, and I couldn't be happier landing at OPG. Rounding out the team, we have Tom Lawler, another one of our senior associates, Paul, who you've all met, and Robert Roach, who is our marketing manager. And who else is at OPG? We have 2 other associates, myself included. We have 2 client sales assistants and 2 administrative assistants, as well as I believe we're getting an intern soon, which will be very nice. We have a great time. We love what we do. As you can see, we truly are a family. I've been there 3 months. I feel like I've been there a lifetime already. It's truly a unique place to work. And with that,
back to me. All right. So we thought, since we're talking to the Economic Development Committee, we'd talk about our ambition. And so it's been Laura and Tony have run it for a fair amount of time by themselves, and now we've just added 2 senior associates, myself and Tom Lawler. And what we're trying to do is build a legacy business, one that will last beyond the partners, which is a typical consulting model where sometimes the partners leave and then it goes away. So we're trying to build a business that by 2022 will have tripled or quadrupled the size of the business. And that will be adding 10 to 12 new positions. In addition to that, we're going to try to leverage technology to get into markets that we haven't been able to serve right now. One of the things we see in strategy and with executive coaching is some of the smaller businesses, the mom and pop businesses, the nonprofit, right, that maybe can't afford our rates, really need help. Yet it's untapped because the price points, nobody has developed the model yet, price point to get there. And we feel as though if we leverage technology, we're thinking of things such as coaching on the go, items that would allow us to have a wider reach to some of those using technology would help us not only grow our markets, but help that segment as well. Our lease is up in September 2019, and as we grow, we're certainly going to need a larger office space. So that's something we'll be looking into over the next several months. And then not up there is we're also probably like a lot of businesses, we're looking at a capital raise to help fuel this growth, and we're looking through loans, and we're also thinking about maybe having a bit of an equity offer as well. So anybody interested in that, let us know. And one of the things that Jamie had asked me to cover was why Woodbridge? And there's certainly a lot of good reasons for Woodbridge. And I will admit, I live in Milford, but I've been in Connecticut my whole life. And for me, Woodbridge was something I passed by when I was going under the tunnel to my hometown in Wethersfield, Connecticut. But since I've been here about 8 months now, this is really a charming community. It really is. And we love our building because, you know, it's easy for our clients to get to. There's parking. It's got some beauty and hiking trails behind it. And one of the things that we love is that our building is almost built into West Rock. I mean, it is right there. And my former Marine colleague here keeps telling me we're going to take the hill. He keeps saying when we go out for walks that we're going to go and take the hill. He goes, I think we can go up from this side. I said, you lead the charge, right? And the other thing that I think is interesting, too, is by Connecticut standards, having lived in Connecticut all my life and lived in Southern Connecticut for a while, traffic's not that bad. I know, around getting on the Merritt is probably, the hardest part here. But in general, by Connecticut standards, it's not so bad. So we enjoy it here.
By New York standards, it's great.
Yeah, you came from New York. Yeah. And so one of the things we thought we'd ask you as well is when we did a little research and looked on your site and saw your development plan, and actually I loved artist renditions of things. If there's anything, and you don't have to have anything now, but if there's anything we can help you with or think we could get involved with, we would be happy to do so. And then finally, our last slide is, what can you do for us, right? Well, in your packets, there's a little piece of paper, and if you'd love to sign up for our newsletter, we would be happy to send that newsletter to you. We can collect those at the end, or you can send it to us, however you'd like to do that. As we're growing, we're always looking for qualified candidates. We do pretty exhaustive searches of the people that we select, as we did with Adam, and we're looking for, right now, some senior associates that can help us drive the top line of our business, but they're always supported by our associate. And then if anybody says, I mentioned before, anyone interested in investment opportunities, investing in OPG, let me know. And with that, I want to thank you, and Adam, I want to thank you for allowing us here to talk about OPG. And putting us on TV. Yeah, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Well, first off, thank you. That was an incredible presentation.
Thank you.
You got an A+, I think.
Thank you.
So if I'm assuming that that just shows how good your work product must be, because that's a hard presentation to do in a very few minutes. I'm curious because consulting seems to be something that's very hot right now for college grads. Did most of your employees come from the bigger firms and then decide to go into little firms? They come from different areas.
Interesting. It's a very good question because finding people from like a McKinsey or a Bain or some of the bigger firms really isn't where we find them. We find our talent, and Adam is included, for those who want something more than just as much money as they can make as a consultant. Because one of the things that our model provides is we're not on as Adam can attest, he's not on the road from Sunday night until Friday. Right?
We offer that a little bit more of that work-life balance.
Okay.
We're probably on the road, and a fair amount of our work is somewhat a day trip, probably 2 weeks of the month, something of that nature. So it's really not too bad. And so the people we're looking for it's interesting, more and more in the college recruiting sector, especially with MBAs, who is what we typically recruit. There's something called businesses with a purpose. And they actually have, what do they call them? Job fairs, specifically for that. And those are the job fairs that we go. And typically what happens is people are looking for more than just the paycheck. We can't compete in terms of money with some of these bigger firms. And so we like to think we offer them a lifestyle that might be more congruent to what they want to do. And the purpose of really helping businesses. One of the things we do, we're always involved with some of the nonprofits around here. I think in July we're taking an afternoon off and we're going to work at the Morris Farm, the Morris Community Farm, right? Massaro, I'm sorry. Massaro Community Farm. We're going to do a little work there.
Work with North Haven and they're a little.
That's right.
Away,
We're doing a little bit of work with North Haven and their public library. So, we're trying to get involved as much as we can.
So when you say take an afternoon and go over Massaro, you're going to be in the fields? Or you're going
we're going to be in the fields.
Okay.
Yeah. We're going to roll up our sleeves and get in the fields, and hopefully we're also going to sign up for their, I think it's called a CSA?
Yes,
it's
a CSA
as well.
It's excellent. I would highly recommend.
Yeah. That way we'll get fresh produce into our office.
Wonderful. And you said you're looking for a bigger space. Are you looking within Woodbridge to stay?
Yes. We're looking in the surrounding areas, and we've just really started our search. Okay. And our ideal of planting seeds here would be to find a building that's large enough for us that we could build out a unique space, because we think we're a unique company, and also be able to have room so that we could make it a cost. We could actually buy the building and make it cost neutral for us by renting out additional space. Okay. So that's what we'd love to do.
And you're looking for Class A space, because that's really Class A. You're currently in a
Class
A minus, I guess, building. Okay.
Unless there was something that was had some incredible bones or whatever that we could build out.
Sure. Anybody?
Are you guys going to be doing your? Last year, I know you started rolling out the food trucks.
Yes.
And,
these are the food trucks.
Yes.
We're so excited.
Friday, people.
Is it happening tomorrow or the next Friday? It starts.
It's either this Friday or next Friday, but May, our administrative assistant, I know that she was down the street either last week or the week before giving flyers to everybody, so it is starting soon.
How can we help you with that? I think it's a phenomenal idea. It really is, because it builds community, it brings just...
If we could get, because right now the way we do it is basically we bring flyers all around. Right. If there's a way that we can increase people who come down, that would be great, because the food trucks, we want to make it worth their while as well. And some of us do us a favor and they say, okay, we'll come and we'll see how it is.
Right.
So the more people that we can drive down there.
So is there a set schedule for the next few months? How does it work?
We can send it to you, but it's pretty much every Friday. And I think it's from about 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
And you can identify the food truck in advance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we identify the food trucks in advance.
So Sadie, can you have the person who's in charge?
Will do.
Get that to us, to Sadie, to Sheila, who's not here, and then we can ask the town to push it out with their blast when they're blasting. And if you have the whole schedule, right? And the whole schedule, we can do it, and perhaps even push it to the Facebook page. I'm speaking. I would like this to happen. I can't promise it will happen, but at least if you get it to us, we will get it to the town. Then it's up to the town to make it happen, but we can encourage them, because I think it's wonderful, because it'll get people who don't ordinarily frequent the business district into the business district.
It's wonderful, because it's right on the cul-de-sac, and we have a picnic table.
A chance to meet our neighbors.
Yeah. So that'd be wonderful. Thank you very much for that.
Businesses are interested too, because it gives them an excuse to get out for the day, or
Right.
at least during that time once a week, to try something different. To have some rotating food options in town, and get out of the home office, come down there and meet the neighbors.
And we can get even better trucks. The more people we can get, we can get better food, right? So
there's a lot. Just because you're in the business park over by Oshrock, there's the other side of Woodbridge. There's the business district that's Hazel Terrace and June Street and all those streets, and I think those people would love to just get out.
Yeah, they would.
Especially the nice days. We only do it during the nice weather, from spring until fall.
That would be great. And maybe we'll make sure we get that, and if any of us are available to go down and do a little ambassadorship, we can as well. I mean, Jamie's there, but I think it's fabulous. Thank you for taking that on.
Thank you for allowing us.
Yeah.
We also definitely want to help you, accommodate you, in Woodbridge. So when it comes time, we're going to stay in close contact with you, but we would love to help.
I would,
find available space.
I would love to, if we can. If we could set up maybe a meeting sooner than later. because it's going to take a while, right? I mean,
right.
our lease is up in September. We have a great landlord.
Oh yes.
Well, Jim Urbano, right?
Yeah, he's what a great guy,
Full
right?
disclosure, that was my listing that you guys moved into as part of your negotiation with putting
Oh,
you
okay.
guys in that
Oh,
space. So
I didn't know that. Yeah.
I watched the space go from what it was to the
Yeah.
build out that they helped you guys put together, and it's
Yeah.
a beautiful space that you're in.
It is. It's really, and so yeah, that would be great. I would love to
We will
talk to
schedule
you.
that meeting with you.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. And one thing I happen to know, because truth be told, I'm an investor in one of your neighbors. UCAN, I don't know if you heard, who's downstairs from you or upstairs, somewhere in your
Oh,
building.
yeah, yeah.
Next door? Okay.
Next door.
They just had this next Series D financing, and Kellogg's, the Kellogg's hedge fund or venture capital fund just invested in them, and so they're getting ready to sort of hire up and blow, really go to the next level.
It's funny. We've been chatting a little bit, and they seem like a bit of a rocket ship. Right? They're ready to go.
They're now and literally this week they have their financing
Fantastic.
in place, and so they're ready to go. But that being said, there might be some synergy for you to work with them, because I think they're entrepreneurs and they've gotten it to this level, but I'm sure they could use some guidance getting it.
That'd be great. Well, we're always chit-chatting back and forth, so yeah, we'll do that. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anybody have any other questions for these two gentlemen? Well, thank you. So again, thank you for contributing thank you for coming to the town. Thank you for contributing to the town. I'm really psyched about the food trucks. And
the growth of your business.
What?
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And the growth of your business. No, it's really, it's great. And we're here to try to help businesses. And as Courtney said, we hope to help you see you through the next phase of expansion and staying within Woodbridge.
Right, and we're excited because it's an opportunity to finally get to know everybody and know we have some contacts we can talk to. So thank you very much.
Great.
And we'll try to be as quiet as we can to get rid of our equipment, and we'll do it in the hall so you guys can do your meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3, can I have a motion to approve the April minutes, please? Jeremy first, second. What? Second. All in favor? Okay. It passes unanimously. Wonderful. Thank you. So I think, Courtney, you're on now.
Yes, thank you, and I'm going to mostly turn it over to Sadie, but I did want to actually make one comment about the minutes last time, and I apologize for not having been at the meeting.
Okay.
But where it says at the back here, the group would like to reach out to contacts at Yale to pitch the idea of bringing medical offices to Woodbridge.
Yeah.
How can we help you do that? Is there a contact that we should make? Do you all have a contact? Let's make that happen.
Okay.
Bruce Alexander is just retiring. It was just announced that he's retiring.
Yeah.
So I heard that he had so large of a position that they split his job into 2 people. I just don't know who those people are.
So was he in charge of medical as well?
He was in charge of real estate. I don't know if he was involved in the medical.
University. He was university
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
But they named his replacement who was focusing on that real estate side. It's in the.
Okay.
Okay, I missed the article. Let's think. I know many.
We can do some
Yeah.
homework on our
Yeah,
end.
do some homework.
Research that
I
and
can-
get back to you, but I don't want to lose that opportunity because I thought that was fantastic in the minutes, and I just want to be sure that we're
Okay.
helping you between meetings really
Right.
make some forward progress on these things.
Right. First off, there are many doctors who live in the community, so the commute would be very short. But secondly, we're really under. If you go around to the different communities, you go to Hamden, you go to North Haven, you go to Milford, there are all these doctors' offices that have expanded what you would have thought was sort of classic
There's
office
Yale
space.
medical places that are huge.
Right. And initially, I think it was because they were buying up existing practices, and that's why they, hung the shingle out that said Yale. But now it seems like they're expanding and consolidating. Yet
We should find. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do have the one at the end of my street, Yale.
Yes.
And that's Yale Healthcare, Yale Medical. So maybe we can find out who's involved down
Okay.
there. I don't know if that's something your office would reach out to, or
We'd be happy
you know.
to.
Yeah, if you
So
could-
full
That
if
could
we
be
can
a
set the
good
meeting.
segue into
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have Yale in Woodbridge. Why are they here? Who's the contact? And how
Right.
can we expand upon that?
Yes, whatever help you can give us with that.
Yeah.
That'd be fabulous.
Thanks. And then in terms of the CERC discussion items, I'm actually going to have Sadie take the lead here, but I'm
Okay.
here for
Okay.
moral support.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you all have not read this article. It's something that I wrote for the CERC blog, and I think that Jamie saw it and recommended that we have a discussion on it at the meeting. I'll just kind of summarize that. I was at the Governor's Economic Development Forum probably a month and a half ago, and they had a nationally renowned site selection consultant. I don't remember what firm he was from, but they had him do a presentation on the top 10 factors that a company is looking for when they're looking to locate in an area. So you can see the list right here in the article, and I guess we can just kind of have a conversation about, do you guys know this information? Are there areas where we need to focus more, kind of get a better understanding of this information for Woodbridge? And we could take it from there. So.
I think that first one Jody already tapped into, and we don't really acknowledge it enough, is the medical knowledge that we have that lives right here in the town, and we're really not doing enough to support that, to let them know that there's that Class A workspace in town. And there are certainly a few doctors that live in town that have open offices. And again, maybe that's another idea that you can tap into. I know Jonathan Key, he lives in town, he has an office here in town, so there are some doctors that have done that. So maybe there are people that you can talk to explore further with them. I don't know if there's a way we get a list of them somehow, or
Of the doctors?
of the doctors that work at Yale that have offices, that may want to have offices.
Right. Right. Well, it's interesting. I mean, the real question to me is, why haven't they? Why haven't, in the past couple of years, there's been a lot of consolidation. So it's been, as Yale, a lot of practices, and things have changed. But even so, for years, doctors chose not to open up in Woodbridge. So that's the question. Why not? To me, why, if we're actually the most educated town in the state, and a lot of that is medical. Why have these doctors chosen to go to Waterbury and to? I mean, just the people that I know, we're the center of the circle, and people doctors commute 30 miles in each direction.
Maybe they don't think about it. Maybe it's just right in front of them, and that's the thing, is that they don't think about, there is office space in Woodbridge. It's right off the parkway for the patients, so it's easy to get to.
If we looked at what Sadie put together in terms of this list of 10, it would be interesting. I think it would be interesting just if we, amongst ourselves, identified how strong we are in each of these areas. To identify if there's some areas where we should kind of focus on, and identify where we might need to improve in order to attract people. I can say I personally know 2 or 3 doctors who have opened up practices and did not look in Woodbridge very specifically because of the situation down at the Exit 59 area, and they didn't understand or recognize that there was suitable building space where they could customize to what they were looking for. Here in Woodbridge, we've got the area on the Litchfield Turnpike on the right-hand side. We've got Kenmore from some of the other office space, and then we've got the Research Drive, and we've got I can't remember Bradley Road. Thank you very much. Where I am always, but and those Bradley Roads are already kind of pre-constructed. There's not a lot of latitude there. At least that's feedback I received from a couple. So I'd be curious to know just how we feel, how strong we are in these particular areas to say, and figure out where we can improve.
Maybe we can identify also what's already here too. Again, I don't know.
Very important.
But in Bruce's property alone, there's a lot of doctors' offices, and he's talked about how we can expand that.
And Bruce is ready to
we
expand,
could
just waiting for the zoning.
Existing medical practices, ask if they're happy with their situation, or if their needs are growing, and does that pose an issue?
I think like Dr. Schreiber's practice is affiliated with Yale.
Right.
Pediatric group right there. They actually just expanded.
Dr. Avni Singer.
They just expanded their space. They broke through the wall and went into Bruce's office space. So they actually they're now in like almost 4,000 square feet. They chose to stay.
2 of the doctors live right here in town.
Yeah,
at least.
And they've brought in 2 or 3 new pediatricians in the last year and a half. So, at least in the pediatric market, there's certainly growth because they're seeing a greater desire to.
But they may also be able to comment on why maybe others aren't coming or something like that.
Well, I think so. So a lot of those doctors live in Woodbridge, and I think that's so they know what's going on in our town, and I think that's our job, maybe to sort of enlighten people or educate people as to what we've got.
I think going down this list, by the way, I had attended that, the Governor's Economic Development Conference in the past. It's a great conference. I don't know how we can make sure that some of our members go each year.
Yes.
I wasn't aware that when it happened.
We will be sure to be
Okay.
sending you things ahead of time now that we're in the loop with you
Okay,
all.
great.
I think
'Cause it really is.
we probably hadn't gotten quite on board yet.
Okay.
This was a few months ago, but we
But
will
I-
be sending you things that we think you should attend.
But looking at the 10 items, first off, a lot of these items I think are not within our control. And that's one thing we have to acknowledge. So, it's interesting to look at it from a state vantage point, but from a local vantage point, I mean, transportation infrastructure, we don't really have that control. I mean, it would be nice if we can work on the bus route. That's another thing to put down for a future agenda, to reroute the bus a little bit, to get it closer to some of the businesses, which I think we discussed.
But on a positive side, everybody we bring in says they're here because that on off the parkway.
Oh,
And we
absolutely.
don't market that enough as a positive. Yes, there's some traffic issues, but those people who are conducting business during the day, traffic is not an issue. It's actually a convenience to be here because of the Route 59 interchange.
And like he said, it's a much better commute than just about anywhere, most other places.
No
in
worse than
Connecticut.
going downtown New Haven.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
And utility infrastructure, we have very little control. But actually, that's a question for you guys. Where's Woodbridge on the map for the highest speed? Or maybe for you, the highest speed internet
I
at
don't know
this
the
point?
answer to that, but we can find some. We could,
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Where is Woodbridge on the map for the highest speed internet? Like the super, I don't know what it's called, the super fire connections.
Woodbridge is fiber deployed.
I think if there's fiber.
There's fiber.
There's-
It's just
okay.
about, as a matter of fact, all of these buildings, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay.
are connected with fiber.
Something we don't
You've got
promote.
some,
Yeah.
That's a good point.
for instance, like your Roan's old company, they certainly have pretty speedy stuff in,
right.
in their space.
Michael Holland was saying has Comcast, and he was in Woodbridge, and he has several gigabit.
Yeah, he has Comcast?
It's not a limitation right now.
Yeah, and I
There
was
are-
surprised. I did not know that Comcast was. I thought it was
Yeah.
all Optimum.
Yeah. And how do people, I thought Optimum had the
Where
entire
is he?
town.
Where down?
I don't know his address,
Huh,
but he has Comcast.
interesting.
But that would be
It's a
great to
gigabit
promote.
connection.
I mean, the speed factor.
Right.
Well, electricity is electricity, gas, but we do have gas down there, which is also good to know. I don't think people think about that as an alternative fuel source. We've got that expanded water line down at Bradley, and the high-speed internet.
You know, the
Sewers.
It's also interesting is Ken and I were at the chamber, the Greater New England Chamber's real estate
Yeah.
update the other night.
That was different than what we went to, the morning of the breakfast?
That was different. That was
Okay.
in the evening. It was like a
Okay.
3-hour program, and they
Uh-huh.
had a group of local developers that were on the panel, and Bruce Dittman, who grew up in Woodbridge and is now a New Haven resident, was sort of the moderator. And they had a huge banner up on the wall, and he made a point of saying, "This is what we consider New Haven, not just New Haven illicit from Bethany to Woodbridge."
Right.
And I think that the chamber is a great opportunity for us to get the word out about our town. And they have an economic development council,
Okay.
which I actually inquired about getting on. But it's the
Okay,
same morning as our commercial industrial development networking group. So
Huh.
if there's someone on the council that wants to get that, it's Wednesday. It's every third Wednesday of the month. And it's a nice council. I think there's 50, 60 people on the council. Mark Candido, who's a
And does
local banker.
does it have to be private business that joins, or can the Economic Development Commission join? I
Do
mean,
we
it must
have
be
any
membership
relationship
fees.
as our?
The commission can join, or a representative from the town can join, because I know Dale Krug from Hamden is
Okay.
on that council.
Okay.
So
I'm
if
meeting
you guys
with
could
Garrett
just
on
say
Wednesday.
someone from our.
I'm sorry?
agency wants
I'm meeting with Garrett on Wednesday, so I can ask him.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to him when I was there, saying I would love to be on that, join the council. And then I realized it was a day that would sort of be a tough day for me to be able to make a regular appearance there. But he's got a lot of ideas, Garrett.
Okay.
So I think he's a.
Is Garrett Luciani?
No, it's
No,
Garrett.
no.
Okay.
Sheehan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
the new president.
President of the chamber.
So can you report back then on the June meeting about that? Does it have to be one person? Can it be rotating people? Can we get a seat that we push people through?
Right. help too. Need be, I know Garrett pretty well.
State and local tax scheme. Well, we clearly cannot influence the state. The local taxes, actually at the governor's Economic Development Council Commission, whatever it's called, last year, I had sat with someone who told me about the tax incremental financing, which I thought would be, when we finally get our zoning, our new zoning together, I thought that would be a great way to be able to do some of the improvements like signage, and really take a portion of the incremental increase, and put it in a lockbox to be used for business, the business district for improvements before it goes into the regular town budget. I had spoken with Tony Genovese about it. I think it was sort of right before, it was before Helen, before Beth came aboard, and sort of nothing has happened. If any of the other towns done that?
A lot of towns are doing it now,
Okay.
exploring it. A few towns have finished and have a district now and
Right.
are beginning development. So there's good models out there that we can look around the state at. And we know the person that wrote the legislation, we know a lot of the consultants that are helping towns,
Right.
Get the districts together, do the financial analysis piece, that kind of thing.
So for those, and we have new members of the commission, so let me just explain. So what it is it was actually used, I think, at first it was written for Bradley Airport, is my understanding, right?
I don't know.
That was the way it explained to me.
Okay.
But it has to do with if there's an improvement, if you have vacant land and you put a building on it, and your taxes, your assessed value goes from 10,000 to $1 million, then there's this statute allows the municipality to take a portion of that, those taxes, and not have it go just to the general fund, not have it just go into the budgeting process, but to say, that in order to, it recognizes the fact that there needs to be investment in the business district, and so you can take a portion of that to use solely for the business area.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much something.
Right.
What would it take to do what Jamie suggested in terms of an inventory of the facilities available in town?
It would.
Is that-
It's kind of a long process, and just about looking at a zoning map and figuring out, looking online at listings, and then talking with people who you think might be interested in selling their properties and who maybe aren't advertising their properties for sale. And it's really just kind of about collaborating with people who might have an understanding of what properties are going to be available. It's not just a super simple process. It's kind of a long evolving process, but it's something that we're doing right now, and it, in other towns, and it definitely takes some effort.
But we've retained CERC to look at the ground list, right? To figure out what's
that's a little
currently
bit
on.
separate
Yeah.
because that's going to look at all of townwide.
Okay.
But we've done a lot of inventory work around commercial real estate, available property and sites.
Okay.
So that's something that can come together fairly quickly through a database that we have, Site Finder. But the ongoing conversations that Sadie's referring to is more around relationships with those property owners and their brokers and the commercial real estate industry professionals around, if it's not on the market but you're interested in selling, we know about it first, and then, you all know about it first, and then you're helping to kind of make those connections in the community.
Okay. Well, once we have the assessment of the grand list, we can really see, we can have, as a commission, can have a better idea. We're talking about 100 owners, 100 properties, or 50 or 20, or it used to be 10 owners,
Is it a bread box or a barn?
Yeah. So then we can figure out what that looks like
We all
and
think
how
we know
to
what it
approach
is,
it.
but we all
What?
have different ideas as to what it is. We all think we know what it is
Right.
until we actually see it.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, it came up in our office meeting the other day. If a broker or a business calls town and says we're interested in moving to Woodbridge, what happens? Who takes that call and where does it go?
That's what we're going to talk about next.
Sweet.
Right now,
Segue.
yeah. Well, I mean, we can continue to talk about this, but that is on the agenda for tonight.
So let's table that and just get through the list. So I guess land, we sort of lead to land building process and supply. We'll have an inventory at least of what we have off the grand list. In terms of the process, I think that's sort of something we've wanted to delve into because we've had people come into us and complain that the process is onerous.
So we have these gentlemen that came and presented
Right.
and told us that basically they're looking for bigger space. What do we do with that? How do we help them do that? And maybe they want to build. Maybe they want to take the red barn and convert it to, to office space or something creative. But I mean, they just opened up, sent up a balloon, basically, and said, we want to move. We're looking at space in Woodbridge and surrounding towns, but we like Woodbridge. What happens now?
Well, that's sort of the same.
So did you represent Jim or did you represent?
I represented Jim.
Okay.
Represented Jim.
Okay.
So you heard him say we're going to schedule a meeting. So we're not going to lose that opportunity. And then we can match that with this inventory that we are going to build over time of available parcels, and with the commercial real estate professionals that we know who can help us identify what space is available in town. We can potentially show them some space.
And do we have any, let's call them incentives, for lack of any other words, for them to stay here?
Last incentive that was offered, to my knowledge, was for the Bayer building, which is a Jim Roboto building, which was a temporary GCC.
Okay.
That was maybe 20 years ago.
So it's only the landlord that's going to...
It's the owner who comes in typically and asks for that. What is are towns giving? Their personal property taxes owners are towns.
Towns a lot of times will abate or waive real property taxes or building permit fees. It depends on levels of investment. It depends on numbers of jobs. Every town does it differently, and a lot of towns don't do it at all. So it really just depends on the policy of the elected officials whether they want to offer incentives. And I don't know if that conversation has been had.
Not on this level.
Or
not on this level.
No, not at the board level. And for the most part, it's something that's been done in the past, so there's precedent. And I would suspect it would be on an individual case basis, very much based on what you just said, what you just outlined, the size, the scope, and things of that nature. But it's not out of the question.
We don't have a toolbox that we can go to and say this is...
Well, CERC has a toolbox, so we've
written incentive plans for towns by asking them what do they care about. Do they care about number of jobs? Do they care about levels of investment? I mean, and then you use the state statute to essentially allow you to do certain amounts of waiving and that kind of thing. But we have models for it if you guys decide you want to go there.
I think it's a discussion maybe we haven't had at the selectmen level.
It has to start with first selectman, I believe, in terms of really bringing it to her and seeing what direction they would want to go in that.
Can you provide us with just a sort of a summary of what those incentives look like?
Sure.
So we can that would be great. Quality of life. I think we have quality of life in Woodbridge. I don't know how we communicate that our quality of life is better than our neighbor's quality of life. Isn't that what it's about, right? I'm not sure how that plays out. Although it was interesting that they have tapped into Masora Farm, which I think really has improved our quality of life. Have that resource.
I mean, it doesn't really appear explicitly on here, but we have great schools.
Right.
That's
Great schools. We have a lot of natural resources in terms of all our hiking trails and all that kind of stuff.
We have an abundance of open space.
Yeah.
Moving workforce development. Is that something that's handled at state
Generally,
level?
that happens at the regional level as opposed to the local level, but there is a lot of cases where towns are working with their school districts to ensure that students are being educated in the technical fields and that kind of thing. So I don't know how strong the relationship here is. I know you do have great schools, but whether you're doing anything proactive with, a STEM academy, let's say, for example, for the high school, something like that, that's really kind of matching business needs with the skill sets that they should be teaching the kids, all the way from middle school up. So some EDCs take an active role in that, and others say, we'll kind of leave it to those agencies that are doing it already in the region.
I've met with the super. I've done career things. I did the career fair at Amity last Friday. I've spoken to seniors recently. I've met with, super's moving on, but I've met with him a couple times around some of these things, not with my EDC hat on, but with workforce development through the New Haven Manufacturers Association, which I chair, and specifically when you mentioned STEM with the Hamden STEM Academy, I'm working with them and Dale, and I'm on the task force over there to help them build that program out. So I brought that information specifically to Amity, worked with Karen Waterman, but we also invited Karen, and she spoke here last year specifically about internship opportunities for the students coming out of Amity, and specifically the potential placements right here in town. I mean, Amity's Woodbridge, Orange, and Bethany, but
Right.
To let them know that we do have a thriving business district here. Let those kids know that there are opportunities here in town, and that's what I talked to them about. This is my second year doing Career Day, and I talked about manufacturing within specifically that within our area here. So we have some connection there.
Right, I think Amity's big push, as Jamie said, is the end of senior year. I think the kids are allowed to take, if they have a certain GPA, they basically do an internship before they graduate.
So those are all things we could be marketing. That's really what the role of the EDC would be in this kind of realm, in addition to the active role that folks are taking individually.
And so Sue Rapini is leaving the chamber, and she's going to Southern Connecticut, and she's going to be working with students and trying to get them out into the workforce and bridge that gap. So I think that could be another great synergy, since they're a couple steps away. We're the closest town other than New Haven. Well, Hamden's right there too.
Right.
But I think it's a nice opportunity to bring. I talked to Sue at the meeting the other night, and she thinks that it would be great to reach out to us and see if there's ways that we can bring in those students. And there was another article, and I don't remember where it was in, but Southern Connecticut, saying that the kids coming out of Southern Connecticut, like 80% of them stay in state, whereas a lot of these other colleges are heading out into other parts of the country. So to focus on our state schools and our most local state schools, maybe.
President Joe I met with him twice last fall as well, specifically talking about these issues, and he's very much focused on the local community outreach that they have there.
Wonderful. Using permitting and regulations, I think we sort of...
Just real quick on that, I just brought up the CERC data, which that we should probably make sure that we all have copies of with your town profiles. Because some of this stuff is there, and I don't think we spend enough time looking at the town profile, because the education stuff we're talking about, that's all there. So at least we have some metrics to look at within the town profiles. Maybe we could put
We could
that.
send that link and provide that next time at the meeting as well.
Sure.
In terms of ease of permitting and regulations, we're going to talk about that as part of this business resource guide. So I think that's going to be kicked off tonight, but certainly not one conversation and done. That's going to be a big nut for us to help crack.
And I'm thrilled, because we've been trying to figure out a way to jumpstart that, and we're thrilled that you're taking the lead on it. Incentives we've discussed, and higher education resources we've discussed. So thank you for this. Is there anything else you stated that you wanted to talk about with it?
I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, it's just really important for you all as ambassadors to the business community to have these all at the front of your mind when you're interacting with businesses, especially if they're looking to come to Woodbridge, and just to kind of be informed on the data that supports these focuses.
Great. So I guess moving straight into the business resource guide, because Courtney provided us with a couple of samples. And now, did CERC create these?
We have created some of them. We created the Beacon Falls, Sadie created the Beacon Falls one. And I think grabbed the Montville and Killingly one, Sadie.
Yep.
And I've created others in the past in Connecticut, but I think, to the exact points that we were just making, what happens when a new business calls or a prospective business calls, it's as simplistic as who answers that phone and where does it go then and then and then, and all the way down to the piece that we were just saying, which is that permitting process, the regulatory process. So if I'm looking to invest in Woodbridge, how do I even begin? What commissions do I need to come in front of? What is the process for that? What's the cost for that? What's the timeline for that? So I think some of these are good because they're short and sweet, but others are going to be, the Killingly one that you can see is very long. Maybe there's a happy medium in there, but I think you can kind of capture two different goals there. One being, if I want to start a business, here's my process, and if I want to develop or invest, here's my process, and they can come together in this kind of guide.
Right. I actually like the one Sadie did. I think it's I think it's short and sweet.
Beacon Falls.
The Beacon Falls. I mean, this one looks like it's, a lot of information you get elsewhere. What?
Looks like you're going to take a test.
Yeah, exactly. but in Sadie's, the step one, visit the economic development coordinator. But what would happen how would you envision happening?
So we'd probably say visit the first selectman's office. I'm guessing that's where they do most of the intake.
Right. Okay.
And then they would be able to assess, okay, that's a building department issue, or that's a EDC issue, or wherever it should go from there.
I'm sorry, just reviewing it.
The Killingly one has at least the intro, and I think that's the one thing we're talking about is the value of Woodbridge, and I think that needs to be part of it. Is the high speed fiber, all the quick in a quick little opening paragraph saying this is why you want to be here, and then these are the steps that you need to take.
The elevator pitch. Well, if this is something you guys can take on and it's within the budget that the town.
What I think we'd like to do is we just kind of wanted to introduce you to the idea, and then what I think we'll do in the intervening month is come up with a draft and sort of a happy medium between the 2-pager and the 20-pager, and work with Sheila and the first selectman's office to really determine what's your process now, and if it's not pinned down now, which I sort of suspect it's not, help them pin it down and then be able to publish it. Because once we publish it, that's going to be our predictable and consistent measure of what are we really doing that every time.
Right, and if we can publish it on the website, so we can have it as a link on the EDC page, I imagine, as well as any place else that is appropriate.
Right.
This is great. We literally tried to start this for a couple of years. I don't know, it's probably since you were on the commission, and every week with volunteers, it doesn't really work. So
it's just difficult. We get it.
Yeah,
it just takes time.
Great, thank you. So moving on to item 6 then, do you have an update for us? Someone have an update on the traffic?
Yes.
The construction dev?
So I put in your packets of information, there's an email that was sent by someone in town, and somehow Sheila got a hold of it, basically asking what's going on with with the project. They weren't very specific again on dates.
They being DOT.
They gave the hours 9 to 3 and then 6 to 6 overnight. That's when they will be doing work, and then sometime in the future they will be rerouting traffic, but we don't know when as of now, but they said that they'll give the town weeks of advance notice.
Okay.
So
6 to 6, so they're trying to miss the rush hour in the morning.
Yeah.
Until 3. 3 to 6 are trying to miss the evening rush as well.
Yeah, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Yeah. That's all we know.
Yeah, I heard I think we actually, somehow the town needs to communicate better what the plan is, because someone said to me, oh, I hear they're putting like a jog like in New Jersey by Lucy Street. And I'm like, I had never heard of that. And the woman was pretty insistent. And then I went back to look at the map, and I didn't see any kind of jog for a
I
tournament.
don't know what you mean by a jog.
So a jog is in New Jersey, in order to make a left turn,
Oh, yeah.
you often have to go to the right and then go left. So some
Jug
people,
handle.
what? A
Jug
jug
handle.
handle, sorry,
handle,
jug
yes.
handle. So people think that's happening in
There's a lot
Woodbridge.
of misinformation. I think that's, we gotta get in front of this.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
they think that it's gonna shut down the whole area, and we have to talk about what positive outcomes we're gonna have with this, with improved traffic flow and everything else, and it's turning into already a negative.
Right, right, well, people are using it as
We've
negative.
expressed to Sheila how urgent you all are about getting good, correct information to the business community. And she's just been frustrated because literally this came 2 days ago.
But I think even if we have the approved map.
Yeah,
So
and that's
even
where
if
we can.
even if we can just get
call
out the
out.
map and say, this is what it's going to look like, these are the
And
areas that are
explain
affected.
it, because
Right.
And
No
not just the
jug-
business
jug
community.
handles,
the
right?
No,
rest of
anyway,
us.
there's no, I mean, look, there's no jug handle on it, there's no room for a jug,
Yeah,
whatever
this
it's
is
on.
coming, this come from a tenant that's in the same area as OPG and all these other people. I mean, I know who some of the people on this email list, and they're just people down on
I didn't
research.
get it.
they don't want
I
to
don't
get
have-
caught in not being able to get out of Research Drive, out of Bradley
Yeah, I
Road
mean, there's
there.
people that have been there for a long,
Yeah.
long time, and they're concerned about how it's gonna affect their business, and yeah.
Yeah.
Would it make any sense to have a special meeting for just business owners down in that area? And
I mean, we
The
can
surrounding area.
have just an information section on it. One of our breakfasts, and we can, once we have the, problem is we don't have the information. And the problem, so once, if you can let us know when the information happens, Jamie, I'm not gonna be here at the next meeting. Maybe, schedule a after hours or a morning breakfast type of thing, once the timetable's set, and have that be our next, business outreach.
Not a bad idea at all.
We could do it at Friday with a food truck.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm
We'd probably do it.
That makes
Or-
sense.
As
or
long as we
research
call
it.
the meeting, make
Yeah,
it officially,
yeah.
official
Yeah.
notice out there. We do it at the end of Research Drive and,
That's a great
have lunch
idea.
and talk about the traffic concerns in the area.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So, once there's a little bit more, well, maybe if we know it's gonna happen, we don't know.
They didn't give
That's
us a
what's so
schedule,
vague about it.
right?
That's the
Okay,
Yeah.
so, why don't, perhaps next meeting, Jamie, when we have the schedule for the food trucks, you can pick a date with the commission and just schedule it, and whatever information is out there, that's what we'll give. And, I guess we'll take some flack if the DOT has an importance. Can we invite someone from DFT to this?
that would be the smart.
Their office
Like
is
James
stone's
Steer.
throw away.
Where's that?
Well, I mean, there's a
on the
DOT
other side of the
office
highway.
on the other- Yeah. I don't know where these folks are out of,
Right.
but it's a 203 number, so it's not Hartford, is my point.
It's on the bottom.
What? Anyway, yes, I think we need to be proactive on that. So let's schedule something next meeting around the food trucks based on traffic. Next item on the agenda is TPZ progress on new zoning regs. Mika, are you familiar with?
I'm not.
Okay.
There was nothing discussed specifically at the last meeting. I did attend the PPZ meeting, but they did not bring anything up more in terms of what they were doing. It's in progress. It's
Okay.
The last.
Okay. So, and Courtney, are you aware of anything?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'd just like to say that there will be a public hearing in late June, and that would be a really good opportunity for you all to come out.
Public hearing, the DOT is having a public hearing.
No, for TPZ.
Oh, TPZ. Oh,
For
do you have a
TPZ.
date for that?
I don't think there's a date set yet.
Okay.
But it's a good opportunity for you all to come out and express your thoughts as
Right.
Economic Development Commission members.
Right, so what I had actually had some conversations with the first selectman's office that I really think that we as EDC have to really come out forcefully in favor of the zoning regs, and really try to educate the town that if you want your taxes to not increase, then you have to increase the taxable base of the community. Given that residential real estate has been stagnant. Prices have been stagnant for many years. The only way to do that is to increase the commercial base. And I'm not talking about increasing taxes. I'm talking about increasing the value of parcels.
Creating taxable.
Yeah. So I personally, as chairperson, are fully in favor of really taking the lead on this. I'd like to know what the other commissioners' thoughts are on this issue.
Do you remember there's a newspaper article? It comes in one of the free papers that arrives in your mailbox a few months ago about these plans for Lucy Street, and that people were going crazy. I don't know if you remember reading that.
I did not. I'm aware of. There's a few very vocal
It is.
people.
And some of the changes that go beyond just the village, so that's not what's got the folks in the uproar, for lack of a better way to put it. So there are some pretty significant there are some changes being.
Because maybe the article I couldn't tell from looking at the article what they were so upset about.
It didn't specify the particulars.
Okay.
No. It's the document is extensive in terms of what they're looking to do, and
because that whole area down, especially the end of Lucy Street, it's not that nice an area. And I was thinking that at least from the artist's rendering, it looked like a nice upgrade to the area. But there seemed to be a lot of passion, negative passion against it, and I don't. Be good to understand what's driving the negative passion in order to try to think. In other words, to be able to speak to that properly, we need to understand what's motivating it.
I was at one of the meetings. I wasn't at all of them, but I know that one of the big concerns voiced were that it opened it up for a lot of apartments and things of that nature, where it could put a strain on the school system, and without necessarily a significant tax influx. So the things of that nature. That was one of the big ones.
Okay, so you're saying the development would lead to that lot of extra taxes and not so much in revenue.
Correct. In terms of
that, I can understand that feeling.
Yeah, and that's where we come in, and we're talking about increasing the commercial base, and increasing business, and not necessarily. I mean,
so you have to be able to swat that down.
Right.
Say, look, that's not true. That it's going to be.
So I had a manicurist. My manicurist is in Hamden. They wanted to move to Woodbridge. They could not find Class A retail space in Woodbridge that was not that they would be allowed to move into, and so now they're staying in Hamden. But they were like, yeah, let me go. It's right off the highway. And now they're going further from the highway. And so I think...
Would it be, and I don't know that it necessarily has to be in a meeting like this, but would it be if you, Jamie, met with Lauren, who's working with or someone from TPC?
Leslie. No, I actually met with Leslie. I gave Leslie a tour.
But it really just kind of bullet point in terms of, so there's a clear understanding on the part of EDC as to what the particulars are, as we're asking, and which would then help guide you in terms of what you want to focus in on. And
so we'd asked to meet with Leslie. We'd asked for her to come here, and apparently her budget was blown, and so we were turned down. And we were.
Ask Jeff.
I went to the meeting. I had a conversation with Leslie for 2 minutes after the meeting because that was on their dime. Not, it wasn't.
Budget for what?
She's a consultant.
She's a consultant.
Oh, so it costs for her to come sit with us for a meeting?
Yes.
I attended the last TPZ working session that they had and sat through for about 2 hours or so. And my understanding is at least once the draft is available, which should be, there's about a 35-day period that we can go through and read it. And so that's what I'm waiting for, is to get this so we can see the final draft, because they spent the last session just marking up some stuff, and that's what we all need, is this final draft so we can review it. And so that would lead up to roughly that 35-day period that Sadie had referenced. So I think if we could at least somehow, you guys can help facilitate us getting a copy of the final I don't know if we have budget money to bring her to our June meeting to work through some of this.
I don't think we have one. We don't have money for consultants, so.
Because the problem is reading through the regs, you don't know where the changes are. There's not a lot of reference points.
What's new and what's
exactly. That's the real challenge, and somebody even brought that up. But they addressed it at the meeting. It's in public record that there's been so many revisions that it's a hard comparison, and that's why
That's why it's important to have somebody who's been going through it come out and say these are the particular points that.
Exactly.
I mean, is it possible if we have a $1,500 budget, we can't spend $300 on it?
I will ask Tony to see if we can get Leslie here, but I was turned down. But I will ask if we have any money in our budget that we can use.
Because the zoning regs are zoning regs. You read through it, it's just the regs. You don't know what's changed. And I've been trying to get copies of maps, and that's been the real challenge. They had one map at the meeting, but again, there's no references.
We were supposed to get a map, and then the map is not ready for being published, and so we were turned down.
One point of reference, at least, is that the stuff from the Yale Urban Design Study has been incorporated into it. The POCD, which many of us participated in, the Plan of Conservation Development, has been incorporated into it, but to what extent, I don't know.
Right, so
Not so much wayfinding, though.
Uh-huh. That's why we need the tax incremental financing to get the wayfinding. Yeah, no, it's a bit of an issue, but I do think that we, as EDC, can educate the voters, our community, about the need for increasing the tax base to help shoulder the tax burden. And honestly, regardless what is actually in that plan, I think that part of our mission is to promote the plan. Because so long as it's going to increase the value of the real estate and increase taxes, Ed Sheehy, many years ago, brought the Yale Urban Design Workshop to us, to EDC. And at the time, for those who were not on the commission, which I think, except for Mika, I think you were on it then, it was a controversy that EDC actually was the commission that actually vetted it and worked with Yale, and not TP&C. But Ed's vision was really that it was an economic issue, and that's why he wanted it here. When the POCD came about, every 10 years, for those who don't know, statutorily, every 10 years the town is required to update their plan of conservation and development, which is POCD. Woodbridge had never really, had not done really a revision of the POCD in years. It was sort of a rubber stamp. And so during Ellen Skalator's tenure, the town was required, and they really took a hard look at it. And the POCD was really based in part off of what Yale had come up with. And there were many town meetings about it. There were open charrettes where people came and gave ideas. It was really well vetted. And that's what the zoning regs that they're working on are based upon. There was a lot of participation. Those were a couple hundred people attended those meetings where they were given input. And now you have, from what I'm seeing, just a couple of very, with social media, it's very easy for voices to be amplified. And so I think you have a couple of people that are vehemently opposed to any change in that area, and just being very, very loud and being very amplified through the social media platform. And the world is learning how to deal with social media, and our town is learning how to deal with social media. But again, I think it's up to us to help the town increase the tax base. So we'll just be ready. Once, I think we should be ready to move on it, and I think it's great to have Leslie here, so we know what we can be promoting. But I think we actually have to be out in front to educate the voters, the citizens who care about the tax burden. which is really what this boils down to.
It's probably, in my mind.
What?
It's probably in my mind the number one issue that we have. Is
Right.
Taxes and real estate values. But to that end, the first selectman's office did receive, it's kind of tied into this, I should make sure you all know that in terms of our meeting yesterday, there was an executive session where the Board of Selectmen reviewed 3 proposals that were delivered to the first selectman's office for the Country Club of Woodbridge. The 3 proposals, one of the proposals was for basically the sale of 40 to 45 acres of the property for development of single-family units for over 55, 18-hole golf course, renovation of the pool and clubhouse, a small clubhouse built for the community, the over 55 community, and the renovation of the tennis courts in that area, therefore, again, for use by the community. Another proposal was for a significantly greater number of residences on full property with a 9-hole golf course, with the renovation of the pool clubhouse area.
In senior housing, or
That was a combination. That was not only senior housing, if I remember correctly, it was a combination. And the third proposal was only for a smaller portion of the property for senior assisted living, about 10 acres of the property.
Would all of those be at a lower tax rate because it's senior?
No, I don't know the answer to that, but I don't believe so. From that perspective, there would still, the income would still be the same depending on the.
Okay.
And were these from the same developer?
No, these are three different.
Was the town soliciting bids, or they just happened to be presented?
They were presented.
Okay.
My understanding is they were presented. Town at this point in time is open to any opportunity. No, they did not all contain enough information for any real significant review or discussion. So the next step is to go back to these folks and ask them to flesh out more of what they're really presenting, understand the financing and things of that nature. So no, nothing was voted on. Nothing was.
And what would the process be? Because I know in the past the town voted, right, when one of these came.
Referendum? It would be for the Board of Selectmen to identify a single solution or recommendation and go through all the necessary groups that it has to, and then present it to the town for referendum.
Mm-hmm.
But when the referendum would be for one option. It wouldn't be.
So it would be chosen first and then put up for
It
referendum?
would be recommended, correct. It would be one option that the Board of
Right.
Selectmen presents as and recommends for referendum. So.
That's very interesting.
it's encouraging.
It's encouraging. I think there are very loud voices in town that are amplified by social media. In my conversations with people are concerned about taxes, and the tax burden, and those are the quiet people. It's to me, these are the people who have the conversation one-on-one, as opposed to sort of yelling online. And so I hope the Board of Selectmen is mindful of that. There, a very large percentage of the town is concerned about the tax burden, I believe, and
That's one positive step forward to alleviate it.
right.
Alleviate a debt and get on the tax roll.
Yeah, I mean, as far as a complaint here about, more kids in the schools, a 55 and over community would certainly not burden the school because
Right.
most don't have it.
Right, well, please keep us informed
I will.
how that
I
goes.
certainly will. It certainly stands in line with your saying, the keeping the voice up in terms of positively
Right.
making sure all the residents understand what the positive impacts
So
of any
Courtney-
solution might be.
So Courtney, I'm sure we're not the only town, only municipality to have these issues. What role does the EDC generally take on an issue like this?
Generally, exactly what you guys are proposing to do, which is figure out the facts, boil them down for educating the town, decide how you as a group want to be in favor or against something, and then advocate for that position within the regulatory process, which in this case would be through the public hearing. So I would recommend that the chair, once you come to a decision, write a letter to the chair of the planning and zoning, go to the hearing and testify, and do all of sort of the proper channels. But as a group, you have probably more power, more weight than maybe just one individual. I'm sure there will be a lot of people at that public hearing based on the other public meetings, a couple that I've been to. But I think as a group, you come with your economic development hat on and say, this makes sense for Woodbridge or this doesn't make sense and here's why. And then be able to educate sort of alongside that with the community.
Okay. All right. I will reach back to Tony Genovese to see if there's any way we can use any portion of our budget to have Leslie Crane attend a hearing, one of our hearings, so we can become better educated about it, to create the letter in support. Because we're kind of, not able to do that unless we're really understanding what it is. And we could do broad strokes, but it'd be helpful to be much more specific. And if you, as I've said before here, if you drive through Hamden and the construction that's going on there, I mean, it's really amazing how much construction is happening now in Hamden and how these properties are being optimized, and not in a very gentle way.
I don't think people realize that the code was so outdated. That's what Leslie talked about, was a smart code, and it's updating the code to today's standard. And I think that part of the message is completely getting lost or overshadowed, that there are things that need to be done to address today's needs and a lot of the advantages to doing this.
Right, and I know that I'm asked about these things, so I don't know if anybody, I encourage you to let your friends and acquaintances know that you're on the Economic Development Commission, because I know people now will walk up to me and ask me questions about what's going on and about the traffic, and so we're not just ambassadors, I think, on this to the business community, but we're actually ambassadors on these issues to the residents. Because they will they want to know what's really happening, and because there's a lot of noise out there. It's very loud noise. They're not really able to discern what's happening.
But to Brooks and Ken's point, they haven't been here. They haven't seen the presentation from Leslie, so it would be important.
Yeah. So I think I will.
Jeremy, if you were here for that one, so half of our commission present doesn't even know about this, which was very insightful and helpful to hear from her.
I will circle back to Tony Genovese and see if there's any way we can use our budget as opposed to TP&Z budget to have her come to our meeting.
I wasn't sure if it's or one of the commissioners. I don't know if that's even an option. I'll check on it.
If you could, that would be
I will.
great. Sorry, I have to text my son who knows me. In terms of, sorry. In terms of upcoming events, as I mentioned, I'm not going to be here next month. I'm in California. My daughter's graduating. Jamie has, thank you. Jamie is going to run the meeting. It's his anniversary, so we all have to thank his wife for agreeing to run the meeting in my absence. So that's the June meeting. The July meeting will take place at, I don't have the specific date in front of me, but it's that's generally when we do outreach at the picnic.
Summer concert series.
Summer concert series. Actually, I've had some interest of people wanting to. Someone who does some sort of Asian dance wanted to know if they could come and present. What I thought would be the best venue for them to sort of advertise in Woodbridge and get around to people. And I said, actually, the summer concert series, they should get in touch with the rec department because there are a lot of people out there. In the past, I've always felt we need a banner because we just look like we're people standing at the picnic. So I don't know if other towns do this sort of
setup. You all have a table.
We can have a table.
Okay, I see. Yeah, we could.
Can we borrow another towns and
right, just cross it out.
Do you have a banner maker, printer type business in Woodbridge that might consider donating services?
Maybe we can ask
For exposure
Tony's husband.
Their
Okay.
name could be in the corner, or
Okay.
something creative
Okay.
where it's a win-win.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
Do you want to follow up on that, or you want us to?
Would you follow up? Keep me on the email, and
Yeah.
if you start the email, I'll follow.
So who should we reach out to first?
Okay, the name of the company.
We can ask Tony Belinsky, who used to be, her husband set up a printing business in
Okay.
Woodbridge. Is that
Pixels to Press.
what they do?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they do that. They've done,
Okay.
they've done vinyl banners for me.
Okay, and it's something we'd want to keep for next year or for whatever else we do, because
Yeah.
this is like the third or fourth year we've done it, and each year I'm like, we need to let people know that we're here. So I encourage everybody to attend that, and then we're off for August. We don't have an August meeting, so and we'll resume in September. Are there any other upcoming events that?
I have a few that
Okay,
I would just like to
Can
say.
we just go to that concert thing on the green? That happens 4 times,
Right.
but it's only once that we do.
Instead of our July meeting?
No, I understand
Yeah.
that, but it's only once that they set up tables,
No, I think it's only once that we're setting up a table.
just our table. But other businesses are represented
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
concert
yeah.
during all 4 weeks. If
Yes,
that's what
There
it
were
Okay.
is.
themes, as I recall, that we picked one that fit in with, it was a community, the one we were doing, the theme was community organizations maybe, because there was a health and care theme or something, there was a restaurant here one time, so I don't know,
Each year they've done something a little different, so I'm not really familiar
I was
with,
just checking the site,
yeah,
they don't have anything like
with
that.
how they've done it this year.
Good.
But we, a couple of years ago, decided we wanted a presence, just because, it happened because we had a conflict with the picnic. The concert, our meeting was conflicting with it, and then, it was like, well, why aren't we out with?
Just because we couldn't find a parking space around.
So we should be there.
So that was it.
We should plan on having something for if we're doing the October Scarecrow Fest, or we need to have something to hand out.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, well, we don't want to wait till,
Is there some, yeah,
Was it last year we were walking
Fall
around
Fest.
handing out the brochures? It was last year we were handing out the
Yeah,
that's
yes.
the one, right?
yeah.
I don't remember, I know
Betsy
we're
has,
handing out something, but.
Betsy has started that process, so she's sure she'd welcome any thoughts you might have in terms of what you want to
Does
do.
Betsy do those marketing brochures, or does EDC do them?
We haven't done, she had done them.
Okay.
Whatever.
And then there might be subsequently information about the DOT project that we could
Yeah,
potentially
yeah.
hand out. There might be
Yeah.
information about the TPZ, depending on how
Yeah,
far
yeah.
along we are on that. So let's be thinking about all those kinds of things that we could be having at the booth.
Yes.
Would we have a preliminary business guide thing even? If we
I don't-
have
we might-
copies of that?
I don't think we'll have a chance to really review it and
Oh,
vote on
that's
it.
true.
Might be tight.
So, yeah, I think it's tight. The other things, we don't really need our approval in the same way, because the other people will have generated the information.
Okay, so this is something that Sheila wanted me to share related to Fallapalooza, that I guess there aren't any planned events like related to the businesses in town. So she wanted us to just keep in mind as we're talking, and next month we're going to talk about doing business visitations. But, as we're going out and talking to the businesses, asking them if they'd be interested to participate in some type of an event for Fallapalooza, and kind of brainstorming what that event might look like. But just something to keep in
In
mind.
the past, what we've done is just visited businesses and just said, do you have something you're doing in October that you want us to list? And it will go on the website under Fallapalooza. So Tennis Central, for instance, I think was having a tennis tournament, and so I said we can list it. The town can list it on the Fallapalooza website. The one thing that didn't happen, which I think ought to happen, is that we should have the canned artwork to hand to them, so there's some branding on it, rather than them create their own artwork, which looks different than the Fallapalooza artwork. So there should almost be a template for Fallapalooza that a business can say, whatever, if they're using the same artwork that JCC creates, again, and then they can put, Tennis Central, tournament, on it. And we should be ready to send that out in a PDF that's editable to them.
And then also just a couple other events that you might be interested in. 2 upcoming Connecticut Conference of Municipalities trainings. On May 17th, there is a training on economic development through tourism. So if you're at all interested in generating economic development through tourism. That's one. And then on June 6th, Courtney will actually be doing a training on the brownfields process. I don't know if that's much of an issue in Woodbridge or not.
No, but it's interesting. Where are you having the training?
In summers.
In what?
In summers.
Oh my. That's a big commitment. Yeah. Are there brownfields in summer?
We're doing a big brownfield project with them, so that's why we're going to have it there, and we're going to kind of have a field trip. So.
Well, maybe if you can send the information
We can.
out. For
Sure.
this.
Give you the presentations the following time we're here.
Okay.
And then 2 other events, not through CCM. On May 22nd, CEDAS, the Connecticut Economic Development Association, will be hosting a backstage pass event in West Hartford at, I think it's called 616 New Park. It's basically a big transit-oriented development project that they've undertaken that they've recently finished.
And what town is that?
I think it's like 3 to 6 in the afternoon.
No, what
It's,
town? What
West
town?
Hartford.
West Hartford.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
West Hartford. Yep, so that one should be interesting if you're at all interested in doing transit-oriented development projects. And then also on May 24th, there is a showcase of downtown Waterbury's development project. So, and that is through just through the city of Waterbury. Okay, that's it.
Great, thank you. Jeremy, is there any update on commercial real estate?
There's always updates on commercial real estate. You're talking about like vacancies and.
Just anything that you want to add to the.
There's about, this is new at least, at 7 Research Drive. There's about 4,500 square feet now for lease. The owners of the property, it's a 9,000 square foot building. The owners of the property were thinking about selling it and leasing it back, but it looks like they're looking to the lease side now. But when hearing folks like this talk, the OPG folks, it seems like a nice synergy that could work for them. One piece of property that's interesting in Woodbridge is the back of Bradley Road at 1 Bradley Road. It's the old trash master back there at one point in time. It's a private property, but it's 5 acres. That building hasn't been used for a long time now. It's about.
So where is it?
It's very bad. It's across the street from the pound.
Okay. Oh, okay. And it was Bradley Road ran all the way back there.
Yeah. And that building, so there's like a 40,000 square foot building, that's a rough number.
Yeah.
And then there's 5 acres, including the tennis bubble, and more. And the whole property could be for sale for someone who wants to do some
What are they asking for it?
So the building itself is like 1.2 million, the building in the back. I don't know that they put a price on that development, but it's flat, it's clean, and it could be sold with a income producing property, the bubble. So it's just another interesting piece of property that's sort of off the beaten path. That's definitely worthwhile looking at.
But now it has water too.
What?
Now it has water.
Right, it has water now.
Yale's new facility.
What?
Yale's new facility.
Right.
The property on Litchfield Turnpike that has the yarn barn and all that stuff. There is 2,500 square feet and 1,000 square feet of retail there that they're actively looking to lease.
Did it ever happen with Tesla wanting to the charging stations?
I don't know if they look. I know they looked at the back of the, within the Starbucks parking lot, but I don't know if they looked at that piece.
Okay.
The one thing I heard about that is that they don't want to pay; they just want to be there.
Right. So they're going to generate 3,000 visits a month or whatever it is. So I don't think they need to pay because they're getting people into your town.
Right. Okay. There's a variety of office spaces and retail spaces available, but nothing that's.
Thank you. Thank you for filling us in. We don't need to discuss a June special meeting now that Jamie is giving up his night to run this meeting. I don't think we have any public comment. Oh.
Before you ended, I just wanted to ask something of the group when it's appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you had the farmers, representatives of the Farmer Forum who came in, if you recall, and presented and talked a little bit about the potential for an agricultural commission. And they were approaching it from an economic standpoint, an economic benefit to the town standpoint. They are pursuing that they would like to see an agricultural commission started. There was a farmers forum held at the center there that was very well attended. A lot of information was exchanged, very positive type of an environment in many ways. And what I wanted to ask is, I know that there were questions that we still had, and we asked about them coming back with some particulars. And the Board of Selectmen yesterday opted to have this go to ordinance where it would be either approved or not approved, or I'm sorry, it wouldn't be approved or not approved, but put for public.
So it goes to a vote then?
It would,
townwide vote? Or
it would go to a public session.
So not an actual.
And then it would have to at some point in time, correct?
Go to a referendum?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But again, my thought was I would like to make sure that all the due diligence is done. If there's more information that you would like, that they do again come in and talk to you folks, or if you wanted to have what input you wanted to have there, that type of thing.
I just had some questions about how hard those numbers are that they had about the multiplier effect of the farming activity, because if they're going to talk about having an agricultural commission, then it will be seen as a zero-sum game if property comes up for, is it going to be commercial or is it going to be a farm, that it might hinder development of commercial property to broaden out the tax base if it, I don't get the feeling that Massaro Farm generates a lot of tax revenue for the town.
Understood.
And if that multiplies and crowds out commercial real estate opportunities.
Actually, I don't think to me it's not commercial, crediting it commercial. It's the issue is residential. In certain towns, I know in Florida, if you classify your town as your parcel as agricultural, you get a lower tax base. It lowers your tax rate.
Right.
So we actually
you end up starving the town money.
Right. I mean, I love farms, but then are we actually pulling from our tax base?
Because there's farms that are adjacent to developable property here in town, and that's what we have to look at.
No, but it's also, if you have, I know that for a fact in Florida, if you have like 5 acres and you say you get a cow on the property, then your tax rate goes down. So I know people who rented cows to put on their property to lower their tax base.
And this is for a state with vote property.
No. So
that's crazy.
So I'm not sure.
My dad did that in Texas.
What?
My dad did that in Texas.
Exactly. So I don't know how Connecticut
We're guilty.
Okay, I don't know how Connecticut approaches.
I don't either, but.
Well, that's why I think we have to take a position, but if timing is not of the essence, I'd recommend we put it off to September because Jody wasn't here for that meeting. I think it's important that.
No, I was here for the
you were for the farming meeting?
I was here for the farmers.
Oh, I was thinking a different
Yeah,
one.
no, I was here. Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure I was here.
It will be going.
Or maybe,
to
I might have
ordinance.
watched it. I might have watched
Okay.
it. I watched it on TV.
Right,
I was there.
okay, that's,
We never.
right.
Yeah.
So it will be going to ordinance. The ordinance meeting will take place probably within the next 30 days or so.
Oh, that's,
We're not sure. It doesn't. When it goes to the ordinance, it certainly doesn't mean that there will be a decision made at that particular meeting. So if you could at least communicate with me as to you would like to have them come back in, or if you have a particular position that you would like to take on that, I'd very much welcome that input.
I'm really just curious about what the state law allows for in terms of taxes. If someone declares themselves to be a farm, are they lowering?
I'll speak with
rate?
Betsy Quist and the tax assessor in regard to that. I'll get a definitive on that. I'm pretty sure that it's a lower tax rate for farms, but I won't say definitively.
Okay.
so
But I'll get that. I'll get that
answer.
answer.
Fast then, so then we would have to put it into our June agenda.
It would help
Because
if
we
you
don't
could.
have a July meeting that
Right,
they can come
right,
to in
right.
August.
Right.
Just
And then
Right.
that would take
your
2 months.
benefit, but-
Right. No, I'll
If you
watch it
saw
on
it,
TV,
okay.
on YouTube.
Yeah, but an agricultural commission would have a vested interest in having.
Well,
more
if
farms.
someone just has chickens like now it's like a thing to grow have chickens in your backyard.
I know a lot of folks.
Yeah, so does that automatically qualify you for lower taxes? I don't, once we proceed down this road. I don't know the answer. I don't know which way the commission will go, but I think it's worth
I wonder if
understanding what the
we
ramifications
had a
are.
lot of questions. I know I was given a question. Brooks, you had questions. I don't know how we can, if they were all captured in the minutes or not, if we
I
can go
captured
back.
them all in my
And
notes.
so then,
The numbers, I didn't get the feeling that they really.
well,
mean, the
I
numbers
want to
they're
make
throwing
sure
out,
that
but-
those questions are put back in front of them, so when they come to the meeting, we can hopefully get our answers.
Yeah.
You know, we don't ask them the questions at the meeting and they're not necessarily prepared for it, but, you know, these are the questions we asked you at the last meeting, and, you know, what are the answers? Let's give them some prep time. If we do that.
Is there a way you want me to approach this, or can I help in terms of communication? What?
I will provide you all with the questions that we asked, and you guys can kind of go from there what you want to do with
Okay.
it. And I will also just do some research, or maybe you'll beat me to it with your tax assessor, but together we can figure out about that, what constitutes a farm, basically.
Right.
And does that allow a lower tax rate?
And I think we need to be aware of, again, of the farmland that's in the potential business district, and the pros and cons of that, and what impact that might have.
It would put a real burden on people who don't have the acreage to declare themselves. You'll end up, bifurcating the town.
Well, right now you have a certain amount of farmland that's set already.
established
So,
Right.
you don't want to increase, your farmland. Maybe you can swap. Maybe there's some provision in there to swap farmland if that's what our concern is. This has to be sold, or this many acres have to be sold before that happens. But if we're just going to,
Or maybe you have to have a certain minimum acreage to qualify for that low tax. I don't know.
There's surprisingly, there's more than 24, 25 farms, designated farms in town of Woodbridge already, right now. The group feels that if they can establish a commission, they can work toward securing grants and help some of these farms that might be struggling to become better farms, or to improve and become better farms, and thereby become better.
And there is economic
Citizens.
viability to that, and it adds to
your town, right?
the culture of our community, certainly.
Right.
And we need to recognize that, and we need to identify what that economic value is to our community.
Right. And again, the reason I bring it up is because I know you had some questions. The whole point of them coming before you was because they wanted to move forward with the commission, but before we got it into ordinance, made a final decision, I thought it was only appropriate that we give you an opportunity to get some answers to the questions you had asked.
Right.
So,
Well, thank you for doing that. I think that's great. Obviously, there are good things about potential great
Very
things about
much,
the
very
farms,
much.
but we have to just be cognizant of our fiscal responsibility at the same time.
Yeah, and how it
You
could be
said
misused.
30 days, though, that our next meeting is the 14th, so we just have to make sure that the timing works out.
yeah, my intent is also to see what the Conservation Commission position is on it as well. So they meet at the end of this month, so again, I'll get that input. So it depends on how much we have as to whether or not we can make a decision at that point. It's I know they're pushing they're very anxious for us to move forward with this. So it's something that I would like to move forward with and come up with a decision in a kind of a shorter time frame, but not before we do our due diligence. So if it has to go a little further, Jamie, then we'll have to do that. My concern with this team is just when you went over to your events, the dates, like you said, if you're doing the July one outside, if you're not meeting in August, then that's too far down the road.
Right.
So even if maybe we need another meeting or something like that.
If we need to do a special meeting, we can. It's just hard to get a quorum at a special meeting.
Understood.
So if we want to vote, it's a bit of a challenge. My son walked in, but I don't think he wants to have public comment.
We're still short a commissioner, or where are we?
We're one short. I'm not sure. I have to
Okay.
check. They
Yeah.
have not gotten back
Just
to
to
me.
your point on the
Yeah.
quorum, we want to make
Yeah.
sure we keep moving on that.
Absolutely. And on public comment, I just want to remind people, I have another hat that I play, that I'm on the board of the International Festival of Arts and Ideas, and that's going to be happening from June 9th to June 23rd. In the past, they've had little things with Woodbridge. I don't think there's anything going on right now. I know there's a big read around town, which is Claudia Rankin's Citizen, which is a really short read. She's a poet. She's a professor at Yale. But there's all sorts of wonderful things going on in the region, so I encourage you to look and at the things. There's kayaking, canoeing, and concerts, free concerts. So, and that being said, let's adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.